Hello, I'm so excited that you're here watching this video. So this is a great supplement and a little bit of a deeper explanation, and I'm going to guide you more into the starter kit and understand why it was created, how to implement it, and to understand like where you are right now. So I'm going to go a little bit into a little bit more of an understanding of why awareness isn't enough, like why that's not enough on our path of self discovery and self healing. Then I'm going to explain the practice that's in the PDF. And then at the end, I'll share with you, if you want to go a little bit deeper, what are some options around that to be able to work with me or with any other practitioner to go deeper in your practice. So, first, I want to explain and maybe give you some new perspectives or understandings. Maybe you've heard these things before, but I just kind of want to weave it all together. So, I want to start off with this concept that we are actually made up of different body systems. I like to work in trifectas. So, the three body systems that I explain is that we are an energetic or spiritual body. We also have our cognitive or logical body, and then we have our emotional and physical body. Now, our emotional and physical body are one and the same, and I'm going to explain in a second how that works. So, what happens is we go through life events, traumas, experiences in our life, and maybe we have like a spiritual awakening, or we have this energetic understanding of the bigger picture, right? Of how we are connected to the earth, to ourselves, to other human beings. We've had this like big aha moment, right? And then other times we have a cognitive understanding, right? We come to understand where people are coming from, what they went through, why they went through that, maybe why they acted that way, maybe an understanding of why we showed up that way in life, right? So we start to develop this really deep awareness, right? But most of us kind of stop there, and not because we're doing anything wrong, but just because we're not taught the other really important component, which is our emotional and physical body. Now, there are practices and things that we can do, and perspective shifts that we can have that overlap and support the spiritual energetic body, the cognitive, and the physical emotional body. However, there are also like those three systems sometimes need very specific practices in order to support that body system. So we have these three body systems, right? Now, you may have also heard this, that the journey is through. And what exactly does that mean? Well, what that means is to be able to embody something or integrate or feel whole and complete today, or again, we need to actually have a felt experience, not like an energetic experience, not a cognitive experience, but a physical experience. It is not going to be possible to feel fully integrated, fully alive, fully thriving in our authenticity if we don't actually support the emotional, physical body, right? We can't just positively, think positive thoughts and like be able to overcome our past traumas, right? We can't push them down or suppress them. We can for a while, and that might work, but then eventually something is going to come up. Either we're going to have a physical pain or physical disease, or we're going to take on habits that need to be done in order to keep that suppression down. Or one day we're just going to blow a gasket, right? And a lot of times this happens through, let's say an event happens in our lives and we become very reactive, right? We become defensive, or we freeze, or we flee, or we fight. We go into those trauma responses. So why is that happening, and how do we address that, right? Well, another concept that I would like you to understand is that when we have a trauma happen in our lives, what happens in us is a fragmentation. Either our psyche fragments, or if we want to say our soul fragments, right? And so we fragment into these different parts. And then those parts of us get stuck in that trauma. And there's a belief that time is not linear, time is actually circular. And so when we have that understanding, that 5-year old, the 10-year old, the 20 something year old version of ourselves is still stuck in that old trauma loop. So even though you as an adult right now maybe cognitively understand what happens or you're aware of your patterns, however, you come into a new life experience, a new job, a new relationship. You're ready to finally publish that book, right? Or to go be part of a community. And all of a sudden, you viscerally have this reaction or this activation. And it's almost like you can't do it. Or sometimes sabotage, like we hear this, like we sabotage ourselves, right? And the reason that that's happening, again, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not doing anything wrong. It's just that there's a fragmented piece of you that in that moment feels as if it's going through that trauma. And what another way to describe this is our nervous system, right? So our nervous system is like, wait a second, are we really safe in this situation? Are we really safe to make that decision? Is this person or relationship really safe? And if the nervous system doesn't feel safe, if that fragmented piece is still out there reliving again that trauma or that event, what's going to come up is a trauma response, right? So what we need to do when we say the journey is through is that we need practices where we can meet those versions of ourselves. And those versions of ourselves are actually in our emotional and physical bodies. And so, what we're needing to do is practices to develop our capacity, like to be able to meet those parts and help those parts help regulate our nervous system, if we want to say, so they can come back to present time. So they can know we're no longer in that trauma. We're actually here now, safe. And from this place, we can make a decision and move forward. And this supports us in going from a reactive state or a trauma response state to more of a responsive ability to respond to this situation. And the things that we need to focus on to do this type of work is more like the somatic work. Somatic work means that we're working with the body system, the emotional body and physical body, to move through trauma. Sometimes we might hear phrases like inner child healing or shadow work or timeline work. And all of these practices, what they're supporting us is they're supporting us and being able to connect to the body and from the body move through the trauma. Okay, so that's what somatic, inner child, timeline work, that's what that all means, is to come into the body. Now, why does that work? Well, I believe, and there's a belief system that the body keeps the score. The body is the programmer. Our mind is what implements, right? It's like a computer. It implements the programs that we give it. But like, where do the programs come? Who's programming this mind? It's the body. The body is the programmer. So when we're able to take the story of a trauma and we drop into the body and we connect to where is that trauma living in the body, where is that emotion living in the body, because the body is the programmer, not only does it have the seed of the story, it also has the solution to what is needed to actually move through, or we say the word transmute, through the trauma. So that's what we mean by the journey is through. That's where we help regulate the nervous system, and the body has that information. And so when we're able to move through that in a visceral and in a sensational way, the body is able to start unraveling, unpacking what we're still holding on to. And in that unraveling and packing, we see the solution. And then we start to learn what the nervous system needs in order to feel safe to come back to present moment. And when we're able to do that, we're able to meet those parts of us that are still stuck in the loop of those things. And we're able to show them that now we're safe. We're able to come back into wholeness, to integrate those parts in. So now I'm in a space where I've learned to grow in my capacity to hold myself, to become my own witness, to become my own safety net, to be able to have access to these other tools that I've learned spiritually, energetically, and cognitively, And now the nervous system actually feels safe to embody those practices. And again, because the body is the programmer, then it sends the nervous system, it sends that new program up to the mind. And then the mind can also be reprogrammed. And now we have more of a integrative, holistic approach to our healing journey. Now, this does not mean that you'll never be triggered again. It doesn't mean you'll never react again. But what it does mean is that those experiences will lessen. Those experiences may not last as long. It will mean that now we can actually and effectively no longer be charged or activated by certain events. And that is an embodiment practice. We need to drop into the body in order to be able to move through that. And that supports us across all of those three body systems. So in the starter kit, what I did is I included a simple practice to start bridging that gap, start bridging that connection between the mind, body, spirit. Okay, so it's a simple practice. In the PDF, I also included a recorded 5-minute guided meditation. So you can read the directions, the step-by-steps, and then you could also just listen to the 5-minute recording that I actually guide you through the process. But what I want to show you in this video today is what does that look like, what to expect. Now, there are deeper practices that you can go into, but this is just to start opening the pathway of how do I take something that's looping in my mind or happening in my energetic field, and how do I bring that into the body where the source of that is, so that not only I can move through it, but I can also figure out a solution, right? So let's go ahead, and if you have time right now, just kind of finding yourself in a comfortable seated or laying down position. And we first just start bringing awareness to our breath. We're not changing it, we're just bringing awareness to it. And if it feels good, we start to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose and out through the mouth. And then in this space, you may already be coming to this practice with an activation, an emotion, a sensation, whether it's spiritual, energetic, or physical. Maybe you're already looping through something, or maybe you just kind of want to practice this. So we're just going to pause here. You can bring awareness and maybe your hand to your heart. And you can just ask, what is alive in me right now? And something that's coming up for me right now is the word nervousness. And I'm going to just ask, as I feel and think of the energy, emotion of nervousness, where do I feel this in my body? And when I say feel, either your awareness immediately goes to somewhere in your body. Maybe you feel part of your body feels numb, feels tingly, feels hot. And so I can express right now, when I am coming to awareness of nervousness, I can feel this feeling in my heart, almost like there's like an emptiness there, or like there's a lot of energy moving around it, but there's this one spot that doesn't really, it's almost like frozen. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring my awareness and my breath into my heart, and maybe even my hand. Sometimes putting a physical hand wherever you're feeling in that in the body starts to help bridge that gap between mind and body. And at first, I'm just going to bring breath. I'm just going to breathe into that part of the body. In through the nose, out through the mouth. I'm not trying to analyze it. I'm not trying to change it. I'm just taking the awareness I have in my mind and connecting it to the awareness of the lived energy of it in my body. And I'm just going to breathe with it. When we just simply pause for a moment with where this energy lives in our body, we start to witness it. We start to allow ourselves to be seen. We become that support that we have been looking for. And as I'm breathing here with it, I'm also growing in my capacity to sit with it, the uncomfortableness of it. This is how we learn to sit with our emotions. This is a simple practice where we're just learning to sit with the emotion, not to change it or to wrong it, but just to bring embodied awareness. So after I just breathe with it for a few breaths, I start to notice that there's a shift that happens. Either I can feel my shoulders relaxing a little bit more. Maybe the intensity of that nervousness is not as high anymore. Maybe temperature changes. Maybe now we start to feel energy moving in that space where numbness was before. And once we notice that there's been a slight pivot, now we can ask that part of the body, what is something that I can do in this moment for you to support you, even if it's by 1%? And again, we're bringing the awareness where that part is in our body. We're allowing that part of the body to speak. And right now, I'm hearing my body saying, just take a couple more deep breaths with me. Just slow down. So I'm going to do that. I'm feeling that the energy, my breath wants to move down my body. You might get other messages. Maybe you hear that your body wants a hug right now. Maybe it would like to go put its feet in the ground. Maybe it wants to take a snack. Maybe it's hungry. And maybe it doesn't know. If the body says, I don't know, then just say, thank you for letting me know what you do know, which is you don't know right now, and it's okay. I'm not going to judge you. It's okay that you don't know. It makes sense that you don't know. I'm just going to continue being with you here, continuing to breathe with you. And so by doing this, we learn how to regulate our own nervous system. We're kind of like co-regulating with ourselves. And so once you get that message, and if you're able to, in that moment, give your body what it needs, great. If you can't give it to it because you need to get up or go do something, then we just say, thank you, body. And when I complete this visualization, I'm going to go do the thing that you asked for. And we always want to bring gratitude and appreciation to the body for sharing with us, showing us where this energy lives, for letting us be its witness, and for telling us what it needs. And once you do that piece, then we're going to take a nice deep breath in through the nose, pulling all the energy to the top of the head. We're going to pause for a moment. And then when it feels good, we're going to open the mouth and we're going to exhale out the mouth. And if the body wants to move, just to help ground that energy. Sometimes when we're in the practice, what the body needs is movement. And then we slowly start to blink, our eyes open and closed. And then we want to support ourselves in orienting back into the room. So we just look around and let our eyes land on 3 or 4 things. Sometimes it supports the nervous system to even look behind us. We take another nice deep breath. And then we pause for a moment to just notice what has shifted. Again, there's no need right now to analyze it or understand it more. We're just bringing embodied awareness. Maybe you're noticing that you feel a little bit more grounded in your body. And from here, we can then move on. This is a practice, like I said, that you can use when you're actually already activated. And so you have something that you want to bring to your practice. This practice can also be used when things are not really happening, but you know that you have things that you can, always touch upon. Sometimes when we do these practices when we're not charged, kind of like more like maintenance and support versus when we're in the moment, it helps to continue developing that capacity to be able to drop into our body, to sit with our feelings, to regulate, to kind of co-regulate with our own nervous system when we're not fully charged. So it's really beneficial to use this practice when we're in activation and we're just going in and pulling in something that's not activated, but we know is in our system. So I just wanted to say thank you and guide you through that. Again, you can follow these directions or in the PDF. And then there's the guided meditation that I take you into the practice itself. Now, if you want to go ahead and go a little bit deeper in these practices and have someone else hold space for you, sometimes having a practitioner, facilitator hold the space so that you can dive deeper can be extremely beneficial. So at the bottom of the PDF, you'll notice that there's a place where you can book a one-on-one session if that's the route you want to go. I also have the Embodied Empowerment Collective and Mentorship. The collective is a group of people that I take through the different phases and pathways of how to learn how to do embodied practices. And in that group, it's only 6 people at a time join that cohort and that collective. And then I have the one-on-one mentorship where that program, those 3 months are very curated to what specifically you're going through your life. And in all of that, you're learning all these different embodied practices so that we can really do this holistic approach where we're supporting the mind, body, and spirit. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to communicating with you soon.